Okay, thank you. And are you going away now?
I believe I will be, but you
Excellent.
got my number. Should anything pop up, I'll be around.
Yes, yes, indeed. I will be on the phone in no time. Good evening, welcome. This is an open meeting of the Needham Historical Commission, and it's being conducted remotely, as you know, because Governor Baker, in his wisdom in 2020, said we had to take precautions because of COVID, and in order to mitigate the transmission of COVID, we've been relieved of public gatherings as long as people are able to see us and follow along. So the order allows us to meet remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded. For this meeting on April 28th, Needham Historical Commission is convening by Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. So I'm going to read a few ground rules for Zoom meetings, although you're probably all so familiar with them that you could kind of mouth them along with me. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some or all attendees are participating by Zoom. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks are able to see you, and also don't screen share your computer. The recording of this meeting is a public document, and anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. So supporting materials have been provided to the members of this body, and they're available on the town's website. And I have some ground rules. Now that we're turning to the single item on today's agenda, we are going to make sure that we have effective and clear conduct of our business and are able to ensure accurate meeting minutes. So what I'm going to do is introduce the item on the agenda, and I will go down and make sure that go down the line of members, making sure that each is able, is here, and I will ask you to hold until your name is called to say that you're here. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking, and speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. Finally, at each vote taken in this meeting, it will be conducted by a roll call vote. And I will ask for each person to vote. Now, what we are doing tonight is following the bylaw 2.11.5, which charges the Needham Historical Commission with a certain process when we are faced with a request for demolition of an historic building. As you very well know, Needham's Historical Commission was established in 1976 and now has almost 200 structures and sites on the inventory. So what happens here is when someone applies, and in this case it is Ms. Harrington, for demolition of an historic property, there is a two-step process. In the first, the Historical Commission holds a meeting, this one, to determine whether the building is historically significant. And if we decide that it is historically significant, a public meeting is held within 45 days to determine whether to impose a 6-month moratorium on the permit. And neighbors and abutters are notified of that meeting in case they want to offer an opinion. We are gathered tonight to hear about the process and make decision about whether or not this is an historically significant building. And I have sent to Adrienne Harrington and to each member of the board the material on the Mass Historical Commission site, saying why the Galen Orr House at 1019 Central Avenue has been deemed historically, they deemed it historically significant. The area that was checked off in the Mass Historical Commission statement is that it is important because of industry, and also because I think personally that it's also important because of the person who built the house. And I would like to ask members of the commission whether you have some reaction to the historical significance presented to us all by Mass Historical Commission. No comments. Okay. Anyhow, it seems, yes,
Sorry.
go ahead.
About the historical significance of the house?
Yes, whether it,
Yeah, I think it, obviously, and we have several criteria for listing a house as significant, architecturally architecture is one, and association with an important person or event is sort of the other big relationship. And this particular house is the first house in Needham belonging to Galen Orr. It was the house he built when he got married. It was the house he built when he moved to Needham with his wife. It sits within the most historic part of the town, within the old center, the former center of Needham. And Galen Orr was an extremely important person to the town. He was not only a merchant and manufacturer that generated a considerable amount of economic activity and employment, but he served the town in numerous ways, probably the most significant being the work he did during the Civil War. Technically, he was the assistant veterans agent, or what the equivalent of will be the veterans agent these days, but he was incredibly diligent, notably diligent in not only making sure that the various laws were, not the law, the provisions were carried out, the support of families, the commissions that were paid to enlistees, the bounties that were paid to enlistees, but also he would look after families, and this was sort of independent of his duties, look after families while their men were away in the war. Very often there was, wife and children with minimal means of support, without a breadwinner, make sure that the families were fed and taken care of, make sure that pensions and compensation were paid. If the soldier died, then there was money due to the families, and that whole process was very complicated. A lot of these women did not have much education to negotiate this extremely Byzantine system. So he made sure that this happened. Once soldiers came back, their commissions, their injury pay, their dependencies, and that stuff, he made sure all of that was in order. To the extent that when the returning veterans formed their own branch of the Grand Army of the Republic, that was essentially that was the veterans organization for the Civil War, their VFW. Needham's Post was named after Galen Orr, and it was the only JR post ever named after a civilian, after someone who had not served. So his service to the town, his service to Needham soldiers during the Civil War, ongoing from the time he arrived in the 30s until I believe the 80s when he passed away, was notable, was significant.
Yeah. I am impressed with the amount of business that he was able to do, from starting by making nails in Charles River Village, then going to, when he built his house, he had a forge in the back and he was making hinges. He then went to Rosemary and had water power there, where he continued to make hinges. And he also worked with his brother operating a glue factory, which we know requires out-of-use horses. And for a time, he ran a grocery store. And by this time, he has actually sold the first house that he built to the fifth minister of First Parish Church. He also was not only, he was a selectman and served as a selectman during the whole Civil War. He was elected to the state legislature, to the Great and General Court. He served as a Norfolk County Commissioner, and he served on a lot of town committees, including the school, library, and fire protection. This town runs on volunteer work. I mean, we have professionals, obviously, but volunteers are extremely important, and he was one of those. He also then became the president of the Needham Bank,
15 minutes.
Needham Savings Bank.
You can-
By the time you go and get it and come back, I don't think so.
Hello. Okay, and I find his involvement in the town, including writing helping to write the material that separated Needham from West Needham, which became Wellesley, and Galen Orr was very involved in that. So this is, a significant member of the town history. No question at all in my mind. It's just one person. Does anyone else have any comments? At all? Welcome, Mr. Roach. Are
Let me
we,
demute myself. Yeah, thanks for having me. So I'm only here to talk about the condition of the actual building, not the
okay,
historical
Well-
significance of the property. So I'm only going to chime in on that part of it.
okay, and let me explain that this meeting is the first step in the process that we are obliged to follow, given the bylaws. We decide, first of all, whether or not the house is historically significant. If it is historically significant, we then, within 45 days, have to hold a public meeting, having the abutters and having anyone in town who is interested in making a statement come forward and do so. So that tonight, we're not going to be talking about what you found in the house, or the members of the commission do have the report that Adrienne Harrington sent us about the structural situation in the house. So it would be appropriate at the next meeting for you to present what you found. Okay.
Correct. I was just kind of chiming in and wanted to hear what the whole hearing. So
Okay,
I'm
that's
good.
fine. I just wanted to point that out to you, that we are following the process as set up by the bylaws.
Okay.
Okay, now, are there any other comments? Quibbles, critiques? No, no. Okay, thank you, Don. Anyhow, are we then ready to take a vote on this particular property?
Yeah.
Okay, reminding you that I cannot make the motion as chair. Okay, would someone make a motion?
Rose, Rose,
Yes, go ahead. Yes, sir.
wouldn't we hear from the proponent before we vote?
We certainly can. I understand, we certainly can hear from Adrienne about her views on the house, but we will then vote on the historic significance of the house, and that is following the process, what we will do this time. Adrienne, would you like to say a few words to us?
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for including me in the conversation. It's nice to meet you. I guess I'll start off with a little bit of an introduction. So from a historical standpoint, I'm not sure I can contribute much to the historical contribution of Galen Orr, but maybe I can share some other history. So I'm a Harrington by birth. So I'm a descendant from John Harrington, who fought in the Battle of Lexington and Concord. I'm a card-carrying member of the Daughters of the American Revolution. So I'm actually a very proud American and product of America's history. I also come from a very diverse family. So I actually believe in both our traditional and modern values as a country. And as someone who has been raised as a military family, so my dad was in the Air Force. So I moved around a bit growing up as a kid, and my mom's a nurse. So coming from a blue collar background, I actually take a lot of pride in working on things myself and trying to restore America's history and keep our values at home, with also making sure that we have the right values as a modern society. I know these are not historical comments, but I actually bought this house. And when I wrote the letter to the previous owner, before I bought it, I said, my goal is not to tear this house down. My goal is to restore it and bring it back to its original beauty. And I've actually put a lot of effort and love and creativity into, and money into this home. And so I don't enter this conversation lightly. And I think we can all agree that our goal is to maintain the values of the community. And I also add, I have had family and ancestors live in Needham. So at someday I'd actually like to sit down and compare some family tree notes with some family that's been in Needham, although it was not in this house.
Okay.
So those are my 2 cents. I think from a values perspective and from a goal perspective, I was really wishing we were not meeting under these circumstances. But I'm coming to this conversation as a last resort to retain my own personal financial stability. So not that that's on topic, but I guess that's a little bit of background on why we're
Thank
here.
you. That does help. Are there questions for Adrienne?
Adrienne, I have a question.
Yes, Don, go ahead.
Adrienne, what have you done to look into, you said you were sinking money into this. What kind of evaluation was there done, not by the engineer, but by any attempt to preserve the house as it is?
A significant amount, actually. So I work with an architect, I worked with an engineer and a series of contractors. And then also I actually have a significant amount of family that work in trades. So there's been a lot of creative input and brainstorming and even free consulting work on the project. Once we opened up a series of walls and then brought in the structural engineer, it has been confirmed that it's not a financially appropriate endeavor to pursue fixing it. And so I went ahead and asked the structural engineer to document his observations for this particular conversation.
Mhm. Okay. Okay.
I certainly have a few questions, but I think it's more relevant for the next meeting's discussion and not today. So,
Okay.
isn't that right, Rose?
Mhm.
Isn't that correct?
Yes, it is correct. that today we must make the decision about whether or not the house is historically significant. And the next time we meet, we talk about the details of the work that you have already done, Adrian. Yes. Okay. Does anyone have any more questions for Adrian? No. In that case, do we have a motion? Perhaps. Hanging out there.
Yeah, okay.
Thank
I
you.
move that the Galen Orr House at 1019 Central Avenue be found historically significant.
Okay, may I have a second?
A second.
Okay, and all those in favor? We now go
Roll
to a
call.
vote, right? And in case you don't know, we have rotating chairs, and while I've done lots of chair work, this is my first time as chair of this particular committee. So what we will do now is discuss any more that anyone wants to say, and then we will take a vote. Do we have any more comments? No, okay. In that case, I will go down the list of people that we have. Jeff, what is your vote?
Aye.
Okay, and Gloria
Aye.
and Don,
Aye.
and I will make it unanimous. So we will then discuss the other aspects of the building itself at our May 23rd meeting. And we will make you part of that. And Dave, I hope that you will be able to come also to that because you will have some input, I'm sure.
Yes, I'll be available for that meeting.
Okay, excellent. In that case,
Excuse me, Rose, does that allow enough time for notification and
oh,
posting?
shoot. Thank you. That's, we need 2 weeks before the 23rd. What I need to do is check to see what the deadline is for Hometown Weekly. We might have to have a separate meeting.
If the town can get it posted by next week, I think we'll be within time.
But if it can, because then it would be in the paper on the 9th and the 16th. And then also we would do the letters to the abutters. And Adrian, you take
7th.
care of sending that out, but the
It's ready now.
town will actually put the letter together and print it out on letterhead. And then you just mail it off, and then we have the meeting. And I will let you all know tomorrow whether or not we can make the 23rd deadline. And if we can, then let's go for it. That will move things along. Okay. All right. So we have in fact dealt with the business for today. So may I have a motion to adjourn?
I have a question.
Yes, Adrian, go ahead.
What's the alternative to the date in May that you mentioned? It's a meeting like the following week, I imagine?
The following week would be, I believe, Memorial Day weekend. The following week would be the day. Memorial Day is the 30th, so it could not be then, which then puts us into June. So that would be the
But don't we have a time frame from, what is it, Gloria, 21 days
45
from today?
45 days from today.
45 days from today.
Yes, so the 23rd is 25 days. And we cannot do earlier than the 23rd because we have to have 2 notices in the newspaper. And they have to be 2 weeks before the meeting.
I believe the 45 days is like in the first week or so of June. So we should be in less than that if we can
Mhm.
manage to get on the 23rd.
Do we have to give a butters 2 weeks notice or 1 week?
The boilerplate for the letter already exists, so that town hall should be able to get the letter ready to go
Right.
shortly, beginning of next week. The question really is whether or not we can get the notice into the paper in a timely way. Because I'd rather not, I mean, to go into June is, I think, not necessary. If we can do the 23rd. Okay. Any other questions? No, in that case, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Gloria, and a second.
Okay.
A second.
Thank you. Okay, and Jeff, would you vote on the motion?
Aye.
Okay, Gloria
Aye.
and Don,
Aye.
and I am also voting to meet you all again on the 23rd, I hope, but I will let you know. I will be talking with Miles Tucker at Town Hall tomorrow about whether or not we can get this done. And I look forward to being in touch with both of you tomorrow. Okay, to let you know, or not with all of us, actually. Okay. And I thank you very much for your time.
Right. Thank you, Rose.
Yeah, okay, if there is anything else, let me know. No, okay,
Good night.
okay, good night.